Thinking about getting a new dirt bike that's also good on the street? You're probably stuck between two bikes, the Suzuki DR-Z4S and the Kawasaki KLX300. And honestly, it's a tougher choice than it looks. Most people just go with what their buddy has or what's on sale. But that's a mistake. These bikes are different, really different, and picking the wrong one will just leave you wishing you'd gone with the other. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which one is for you and why. Let's dive into what makes these two so unique, starting with the heart of any motorcycle, the engine. Okay, so the DR-Z400S has a 398cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine. It's been around forever, and for good reason. It's reliable, predictable, and makes a solid amount of power for a dual sport. We're talking around 33-34 horsepower to the wheel. It pulls strong from down low and keeps going. It's not going to win any drag races against dedicated street bikes, but off-road, it's got plenty of grunt to get you up hills and through tough spots. The power delivery is smooth, which is great for new riders or when you're in tricky terrain. It's got a 5-speed transmission, which is a bit old school, but it works. You might find yourself wanting a 6th gear on the highway though, just to drop the RPMs a bit. Now the KLX300. This one's got a 292cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine. Right off the bat, you see it's smaller. It's also a more modern design, fuel-injected, which means no messing with carbs. That's a big plus for consistency and easier cold starts. Power-wise, it's making closer to 26 to 28 horsepower. So yeah, it's less powerful than the DR-Z. You feel that difference, especially when you twist the throttle. It's still peppy for its size, and the power comes on smoothly, similar to the DR-Z, but just with less oomph. It handles trails well, but on the street, you'll definitely notice the lower power. The KLX has a 6-speed transmission, which is a nice touch and helps it feel less buzzy on the highway compared to the DR-Z, even with less power. So for engines, if you want more raw power and don't mind an older design, the DR-Z takes it. If you prefer modern fuel injection and a 6-speed for cruising, the KLX has an edge, even with less power. This is where things start to get interesting. The DR-Z400S comes with fully adjustable inverted front forks and a fully adjustable rear shock. This is big. You can dial in the suspension for your weight, your riding style, and the terrain. Out of the box, it's pretty good, but with some adjustments, it can be really plush off-road and stable on the street. It soaks up bumps and small jumps surprisingly well. It's built tough. The KLX300 also has inverted front forks and a Unitrack rear shock, both adjustable for preload and rebound. So it's got adjustability, but maybe not as much fine-tuning as the DR-Z. The suspension on the KLX is softer. That's good for slow, technical trails where you want a comfortable ride. But push it harder and you might find it bottoming out more easily than the DR-Z. For casual trail riding and street use, it's perfectly fine. If you're planning on hitting bigger bumps or going faster off-road, the DR-Z's suspension is definitely more robust and capable. In terms of handling, the DR-Z feels a bit more planted due to its weight and stronger suspension. The KLX, being lighter, feels more nimble and easier to throw around in tight spots. On the street, both are good, but the DR-Z feels a little more stable at speed. Here's another big differentiator. The DR-Z400S tips the scales at around 317 pounds wet. That's not super light for a dirt bike, but it's manageable. You feel that weight, especially if you're trying to pick it up after a fall. The seat height is about 36.8 inches, so it's tall. If you're shorter than 5'10" or 5'11", you'll be on your tippy toes, or maybe just 1 foot down. The ergonomics are pretty standard dual sport. The bars are a decent width, and the riding position is upright and comfortable for longer rides. The KLX300 is lighter, coming in at about 302 pounds wet. That 15-pound difference doesn't sound like much on paper, but you absolutely feel it when you're riding, especially off-road. It's easier to maneuver, easier to pick up, and generally less tiring to ride aggressively. The seat height is lower too, at around 35.2 inches. That's a significant difference and makes it much more accessible for shorter riders. The ergonomics are also comfortable, perhaps a bit more compact than the DR-Z, which some riders might prefer for tighter trails. So if weight and seat height are a concern, the KLX clearly wins here. If you're a taller rider and want a more substantial feel, the DR-Z might be better. Both bikes come with disc brakes front and rear. The DR-Z has a 250mm front disc and a 220mm rear disc. The braking is strong and predictable. It's got good feel, and you can trust them to stop you when you need to, whether on the road or in the dirt. The wheels are standard dirt bike sizes, 21-inch front and 18-inch rear, giving you a huge range of tire options for off-road performance.
The KLX300 features a 250mm front disc and a 240mm rear disc, so actually a slightly larger rear disc than the DR-Z. The brakes on the KLX are also very capable. They provide good stopping power and control, feeling a little less grabby than the DR-Z, which can be nice for newer riders learning brake modulation. Like the DR-Z, it runs a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheel, so again, lots of tire choices. Neither bike has ABS, which is pretty standard for this type of dual sport, so no major difference here. Both offer good, reliable braking. Both the DR-Z4S and the KLX300 are fully street legal. They come with headlights, taillights, turn signals, mirrors, and a license plate holder right from the factory, so no extra hassle there. The DR-Z has an old-school basic LCD display. It shows speed, odometer, trip meter, and a clock. That's about it. It's functional, but nothing fancy. It still uses a carburetor, which some people love for its simplicity and ease of tuning, but others hate for the need to jet it for different altitudes or temperatures. The KLX300, being more modern, has a more refined digital display. It also shows speed, odometer, trip meters, clock, and a fuel gauge, which the DR-Z doesn't have. That fuel gauge is a really nice feature to have. As I mentioned before, it's fuel injected, which means no carb issues, better fuel economy potentially, and more consistent performance across different conditions. For features, the KLX definitely feels more up-to-date and offers some nice conveniences like the fuel gauge and fuel injection. The DR-Z is more basic, but also simpler, which can mean fewer things to go wrong. This is where the DR-Z4S shines, and it's a big reason why it's been around for so long. The DR-Z is legendary for its reliability. People put tens of thousands of miles on these engines with just basic maintenance. The engine design is tried and true, a bit overbuilt, honestly. Parts are plentiful and relatively inexpensive. It's a bike you can count on to start every time and take a beating. The KLX300 is also a reliable bike, being a Kawasaki. It's newer, so maybe not as long a track record as the DR-Z, but Kawasaki generally makes very solid engines. Being fuel injected, it generally requires less fussing than a carbureted bike. Routine maintenance is straightforward on both. Both bikes have good reputations, but the DR-Z's reputation for being bulletproof is almost unmatched in the dual sport world. Pricing is always a factor. The 2025 DR-Z4S usually comes in around $7,500 to $7,600 MSRP. The 2025 KLX300 is generally a bit cheaper, often starting around $6,200 to $6,300 MSRP. So there's a noticeable price difference, with the KLX being more affordable by over $1,000. This could be a deciding factor for many people, especially if they're on a budget. Neither of these bikes is inherently better than the other. It all comes down to what you need and what you want to do with it. The DR-Z is the old-school workhorse, tough as nails with more power, but a bit less refinement. The KLX is the modern, user-friendly option, lighter, more technologically advanced, but with less raw power. Think about your priorities. Are you hitting challenging trails every weekend, or mostly cruising fire roads and city streets? Are you tall and strong, or do you prefer something easier to manage? Your answers will point you directly to the right bike.